I was taken aback by my mother-in-law's unexpected words. "I didn't expect you to afford such a place." "Well done, dear. We're more than happy to move in with you," she said. My confusion deepened at her statement. "Excuse me," I interjected, feeling the need to clarify. "With this upgrade, I don't mind holding off on the divorce. Remember, I'm single now," I replied, my voice calm but firm. "I'm Lucy, 35 years old, and I work as a doctor at a women's health clinic. My apartment, a comfortable 15-minute drive from work, accommodates not just me, but also my husband, William, and his parents. My marriage to William began 5 years ago, accompanied by his condition that we live with his parents. Being an only child, I understood his family obligations. Despite knowing this beforehand, I agreed wholeheartedly. When we tied the knot, we opted for a larger apartment, embracing life with his parents as part of our domestic arrangement. Initially, when we began our cohabitation, William's parents assured me, "Lucy, you're undoubtedly busy as a doctor. Leave the household chores to us. Your father-in-law and I will handle everything else while you focus on your work." And true to their word, they diligently managed all cooking, cleaning, and domestic tasks, affording me the luxury of concentrating solely on my professional duties. I assumed William enjoyed the same privileges. However, our dynamic shifted dramatically 6 months later. Abruptly, William resigned from his job. Taken aback, I inquired, what prompted this decision? Why quit? His response was startling. "I believe I've put in my fair share. I need a hiatus before embarking on a fresh start. Besides, even without my income, we won't struggle financially with yours." "But why such a significant decision without consulting me? You can't guarantee finding another job. What if something happens to me?" I asked, concerned. His reply was dismissive. "There's no need for pessimism. We have savings to fall back on." Attempting to reason with him, I was interrupted by my mother-in-law. "Now, Lucy, don't be too hard on him. William has toiled diligently so far. A break is well-deserved, wouldn't you agree? You can compensate for his absence by working a bit harder." Stunned into silence, I pondered the unfairness of her suggestion. My work was already demanding, and it seemed ludicrous to imply that I should bear the brunt of our financial responsibilities while William enjoyed a rest. After all, I too faced challenges. Upon hearing my retort, my mother-in-law's expression shifted abruptly. With raised eyebrows, she retorted, "Let me remind you, Lucy, you're not the only one grappling with difficulties here. While you were at work, your father-in-law and I were tending to the household tasks alongside our own jobs, without respite. If you insist on such talk, we'll cease our contributions to the household from now on. You're on your own." Her words struck me dumb. With that declaration, my mother-in-law and William exited the room and headed to the living room to watch TV, leaving me to struggle on my own. I was now juggling both household chores and my demanding job. No one else would lift a finger to help. Cooking became a regular occurrence, often just to stave off hunger. In their absence of cooking, however, they demanded pricey meals like sushi, leading to mounting demands for increased funds to cover food expenses. "Lucy, ensure there's enough money for our meals. Are you aiming to starve us?" they pleaded. Even when I urged restraint, my mother-in-law would counter, "How heartless," suggesting scrimping on food when we're confined at home with no other indulgences. "You're such a heartless person, neglecting your responsibilities to care for your in-laws. Perhaps divorce is the answer." I relented, increasing the funds allotted for food, enabling my in-laws and William to indulge in whatever culinary desires they fancied. During a brief break from work, I dashed to a nearby gas station to pick up a few essentials. Upon reaching the counter, I realized my card was missing, and my wallet seemed lighter. A momentary confusion gripped me before I hurried home. Immediately after work, I burst into the living room to find a gleaming new television. "Welcome home, Lucy. Back so soon?" William chimed in, his voice laced with false innocence. "Isn't it splendid?" added my mother-in-law, their faces adorned with sinister smirks. "What's this? How did you manage to afford this?" I asked, baffled by the sudden splurge. "We had savings, obviously," came the casual reply. My mother-in-law seized the opportunity to chime in, her tone dripping with Fox gratitude. "Oh, Lucy, we had no idea you were saving so diligently for us. You should have mentioned it sooner. With your dutiful contributions, we can now enjoy even more luxuries. You've finally proven your worth as a daughter-in-law." Spotting my card on the table, I exclaimed, "Wait, did you use my savings? And how did you obtain the PIN?" The response was dismissive. "It's simple to deduce. After all, we're family," my mother-in-law asserted with a sly grin. Using William's birthday as the PIN shows your affection for him, she added, seemingly pleased with her deduction. I didn't choose the PIN with William in mind. It simply remained unchanged since our marriage, and my feelings toward William are not as they once were, I confessed. But both my mother-in-law and William continued their audacious demands. "You haven't fulfilled your duties as a daughter-in-law thus far. There's no need to make a fuss over this. Your obligation is clear. Hand over your savings to us quietly. We expect $3,000. No, $4,000 monthly from now on. Don't try to hide your earnings. Ensure we receive our fair share." Shocked by their shameless demands, I snapped back. "This isn't a joke. Why should my hard-earned money line your pockets? If you desire funds, earn them yourselves. This applies to both of you, mother-in-law and father-in-law. Show some decency and consider household finances before attempting to extort from me." The room fell into a heavy silence, the weight of my words hanging in the air. It didn't take long for my in-laws to retaliate. "Such impertinence, daughter-in-law. Is that how you address your mother-in-law? We see no semblance of gratitude from you. What use is a daughter-in-law who only brings money? Your audacity is beyond belief. There's a line you've crossed," my father-in-law seethed. William, unable to contain his frustration, stormed off to his room. But he soon returned with a piece of paper in hand, which he thrust toward me. It was a divorce decree. To my disbelief, not only was William's signature present, but also those of my in-laws as witnesses. "File it if you dare," William sneered, "but be prepared to vacate this condo. Living with a stranger is out of the question." Unlike his wife, William is capable, my father-in-law declared sternly. "Lucy will overlook your outburst as a momentary lapse. However, any further defiance will lead to your divorce." Their laughter filled the room. Anger boiled within me, but so did a glimmer of satisfaction. Yet now was not the time for retaliation. Suppressing my urge to lash out, I calmly stated, "I'll begin moving my belongings, and, essentials in hand, I made my way to my room. But as I passed by, my in-laws and William wore expressions of bewilderment. They believed I would beg for forgiveness at the mere mention of divorce. How naive. The divorce papers, complete with signatures, served as a stark reminder of their intentions. Swiftly, I gathered my belongings and declared, "I'm leaving. Don't expect me to come to your aid, even in times of trouble." With that, I departed the condo, the divorce papers securely in my possession. Seeking refuge in a nearby business hotel for the night, I took swift action and canceled the car William had been using online. Upon checking my balance, I discovered that my account, once boasting over $10,000, now contained a mere $3,000. Curiosity piqued, I pondered their extravagant expenditures. However, my savings weren't limited to that account alone. As a precaution, I had sizable reserves in two other accounts, and though it stunned to see $7,000 vanish, I accepted it as a necessary sacrifice to sever ties with that family. The following day, I wasted no time and headed straight to the city office to submit the divorce papers. With a sense of relief, I watched as they were duly accepted. To ensure the finality of the matter, I double-checked my family register certificate, confirming my newfound status as a divorced individual. At last, I had severed ties with that troublesome family. While the urge to rejoice surged within me, I remained composed, knowing there were still tasks at hand. My next stop was a real estate agency, where I tended to two crucial matters. First, I invested in a home of my own, utilizing the savings I had diligently accrued over the years. Through this process, I came to grasp the true significance of living life on my own terms. The realization dawned upon me that freedom was a precious commodity, one that could easily be compromised. I understood the importance of seizing opportunities promptly and asserting my autonomy without hesitation. I settled into my new single-story house, reveling in its spacious living room, practical kitchen, and coveted walk-in closet, all mine. Determined to make it truly mine, I spent the day furnishing every nook and cranny, moving in whatever I could manage. The following 3 days were a whirlwind of shopping, acquiring essentials, and indulging in the thrill of creating my sanctuary. While the expense of replacing everything was significant, I deemed it a worthy investment for a fresh start. A few days later, as I sat down to dinner around 8:00 p.m., the doorbell interrupted my solitude. Curious about who could be calling at such an hour, I glanced at the intercom screen to find a familiar sight. William, my former mother-in-law, and my former father-in-law. It almost felt nostalgic. Anticipating their arrival, I approached the door and swung it open. Before I could utter a word, William launched into a tirade. "What's the idea? Disappearing without a word. It's madness," he raged. His outburst prompted his parents to intervene. "William, take a breath. We agreed to discuss this calmly later," his mother interjected soothingly. "Exactly. Look at this place. Isn't it fantastic? It's far more spacious and inviting than our cramped condo," his father added, attempting to diffuse the tension. Despite my protests, they barged into my home without hesitation. "Hold on, you can't just waltz in here uninvited." I objected, but my plea fell on deaf ears. "Enough. This is as much our place as yours. What's the harm in us visiting?" William retorted, brushing aside my objections. With that, they proceeded to explore my home. The furniture isn't to my taste, but I must admit, the layout is quite decent. "It might even be more comfortable than our current condo," his father remarked, surveying the space. "I never imagined you could afford such a place." "Well done, dear. We don't mind moving in with you," my mother-in-law remarked, her tone dripping with condescension. "Excuse me?" I asked, stunned. "We're informing you that we've approved this condo. We'll be residing here with you. Perhaps we can overlook your past transgressions, though your conduct as a daughter-in-law has been subpar. We acknowledge your gesture in securing this residence for us. Perhaps William will find it satisfactory. I suppose I can overlook this if we can reside here. I don't mind remaining married to you," she continued. "Excuse me. Who's the wife and who's not getting divorced?" I interjected, still confused by their assertions. The room fell silent as the three exchanged puzzled glances. "I'm not married. You know I'm single," I clarified. Rather than showing, Astonishment spread across their faces. They seemed unable to comprehend my words. What nonsense are you spouting? Do you think you can escape the consequences of your disrespect? My father-in-law retorted angrily. I thrust the divorce certificate into William's stunned face, causing a visible shift in their demeanor. Lucy, how dare you take such action without consulting us? Do you expect forgiveness? My mother-in-law demanded. Yes, I do, I replied calmly. After all, you provided it to me for that very purpose, didn't you? Lucy, how dare you take such action without consulting us? She repeated, her tone growing more agitated. Forgiveness? Your names were clearly stated on the divorce notice. Including your names implies a decision was made, doesn't it? You were the ones who initiated the divorce papers, weren't you? I asked. William explicitly instructed me to file them, so I did. What's the issue? Seeing their silence and flushed faces, I pressed on undeterred. Let's not forget, you're the ones who kicked me out. It seems you've conveniently overlooked the fact that the condo you're currently living in is registered under my name. Now that we're estranged, I see no reason to uphold that agreement. I've terminated it, I declared, my voice firm. Their expression shifted quickly from anger to shock, their faces draining of color. Determined to finish what I'd started, I executed my final move. Dialing a number on my phone, I addressed the receiver. Hello, I regret to inform you that there are trespassers in my home. Yes, 3 individuals who have forcefully entered my property. Please dispatch assistance immediately. The address is... I had summoned the police. As their protests rang in my ears, I remained resolute. Don't assume you can escape consequences. What kind of daughter-in-law are you? It's appalling to involve the authorities in family matters. One of them shouted. Remember this, another added, their words futile attempts to deflect accountability. With their parting remarks still echoing in the air, each of them swiftly departed from my home. As I had repeatedly stated, I was indeed single. Finally, my battle had drawn to a close. I had braced myself for potential retaliation, expecting them to target me at the hospital where I worked. Surprisingly, they never materialized. Stubbornly, they remained in the apartment even after the week-long eviction notice had passed. Soon after, I received a call from the real estate agent. I promptly informed them. Those individuals are complete strangers to me. As a result, they were charged with trespassing and dealt with accordingly by the authorities. Each was fined $1,000, but unsurprisingly, none could afford to pay. A relative from the countryside stepped in and settled the fines on their behalf. Subsequently, they were forcibly relocated to the countryside. It's likely that by now, they are toiling away on a farm, unpaid, under the watchful eye of their relative. As for me, life is unfolding smoothly. Embracing my newfound independence, I've rediscovered the joys of living alone after years of prioritizing others over myself. Every day now feels like a fresh start. Moving forward, I'm determined to savor each moment and seize the opportunities that come my way, ensuring I make the most of this precious life.